GoToMeeting.
This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by GoToMeeting. Online meetings made easy.
I know karate. Some Democratic congressmen and senators have said, hell no, enough of this. Peter Welch is from Vermont. He's a Democrat. He says this is fiscally irresponsible. He has put together a letter and is going around the House getting people to sign it. Last I saw, at least 15 had signed it. I hope that becomes a much, much larger number, saying that's interesting that you made a deal with the Republicans on these tax cuts and you want to give another $140 billion over the next 2 years to the rich. Not buying it. We're done with this.
End of this. Had enough. It's going to stop.
And Peter Welch says he's one of the guys to stop it. And the Vermont revolution begins. Because now look at Bernie Sanders, the senator for Vermont. He's very clear on this. Clip number 12.
Not only is this bad public policy, driving up the deficit, increasing the growing gap between the rich and everybody else, I think it is bad politics. It's bad politics in the sense of who is going to believe the president or anybody who votes for this in the future when you campaign for years against Bush's economic policy and then you say, oh, by the way, that's what I'm voting for. I'm voting for tax breaks for the rich. And by the way, if it turns out in this deal to be 2 years, you can bet that that's just the beginning. It will be extended beyond that. So I think for a Democratic president, Democratic House, Democratic Senate to be following the Bush economic philosophy of tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires is absolutely wrong public policy, absolutely wrong politically. And I got to tell you, I will do whatever I can to see that 60 votes are not acquired to pass this piece of legislation.
Will you filibuster this?
I will do whatever I can on this. This is a very, very bad agreement.
So the 2-year extension of the Bush tax cuts, the 13 months on unemployment, that's the reported meat of the deal. You're telling us tonight that you will do everything you can to stop this deal, and this, of course, would push it into the next session of the Congress, and we would go back to the old rate. That's what you would take right now, Senator.
I believe, Ed, that we have the vast majority of the American people on our side. I think we've got to hold tough on this, hold firm on this, and not concede to Republicans who, as you indicated, have absolutely no inclination to compromise. They want it all for their rich friends.
Booyah! And the fight begins. We don't know how much of a fight it'll be, but now let me give you some of the other quotes. Steve Hildebrand was the deputy national director of Obama's presidential campaign. He says, quote, I think the president made a huge mistake in supporting any extension of tax cuts. So that's Hildebrand. Here's Howard Dean. I am not so sure you can get the House to agree to this in conference committee. And what about the president's other priorities? Don't ask, don't tell, START, DREAM Act. I mean, do we not get anything for the $700 billion? By the way, Howard Dean, also from Vermont. The Vermont Revolution begins. Here is Gerald Nadler, Democrat of New York, congressman. I don't like this at all. The president has not put up much of a fight. Now, you think that's tough. Wait till you get a load of Mary Landrieu. Now, Mary Landrieu is considered a very conservative Democrat. Here's what she said. I'm going to argue forcefully for the nonsensicalness and the almost, moral corruptness of that particular policy. This is beyond politics. This is about justice and doing what's right. Damn. Then she continued, quote, why the president didn't think that there were 40 or 50 or 60 of us to defend him on this principle, I don't know. But he basically didn't think anybody of us cared much about it. Well, I want him to know I do care. That is as conservative a Democratic senator as there is in the country. And I already told you George Voinovich, a Republican, says he's voting no. That it's too irresponsible when it comes to the budget. You had so many votes and you didn't do it, Barack, because you didn't try. It's sad. Look, I hope that this fight back is real, and then it builds, and they rally, and they pull in a couple of Republicans, and they say, no, we're not going to kill the budget like this. And then we're not going to have you turn around later and go, oh, too late, we already gave the tax cuts to the rich. Now we got to cut Social Security. Now we got to cut Medicare. Now we got to cut things for the middle class and raise taxes for the middle class? No. The answer is hell no. Would I vote against this and kill this compromise? Absolutely. Oh boy. Let's go up and at 'em. Rally as many congressmen and senators as you can. Enough tax cuts for the rich. Enough already. Young Turks have a new sponsor, GoToMeetings. Online meetings made incredibly simple. You can set it up in 2 minutes and you can talk to anyone from anywhere. And it's only $49 a month and it's unlimited.
You can actually go to gotomeeting.com/Turks and get a 30-day trial.
I never heard anybody.